frontline through the battles and the pains, with a camera in the fray and the world on our screens. We're the voice of the silence, the witness of the scenes. Headlines flashing bright from the shadows, we arise with the truth in our hands under perilous skies. Every story told is a battle we fight. Through the darkness and the fear, we bring the light. In the chaos, in the flames, we'll stand tall, with the courage to reveal through the rise and the fall. From the embers of the war to the echoes of the call, we're the eyes of the world and we'll never stall. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines. Through the blood and the fire, we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle, where the truth aligns, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. From the ruins and the wreckage, every story's told. Through the tears and the heartbreak, the bravery unfolds. In the darkest hours, when the world's torn apart, KLW brings the stories straight from the heart. With the cameras rolling through the wreckage and the pain, we capture the reality while the world remains. Every angle, every moment in the line of fire, we're the pulse of the battlefield, never to tire. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines. Through the blood and the fire, we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle, where the truth aligns, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines. Through the blood and the fire, we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle, where the truth aligns, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. Through the smoke and the ruins, we'll pierce the veil. With every breath we take and every tale, we're the heartbeat of the conflict in the shadowed frail. With KLW's vision, the truth won't fail. Stand firm, we're the beacon in the fray. Through the dust and the fury, we'll light the way. In the fight for the truth, where the heroes lay. KLW, the story's here to stay. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines. Through the blood and the fire, we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle, where the truth aligns, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. So here's to the courage and the tales we unfold. In the heart of the conflict, our story's told. KLW, with the truth we hold. In the fire of the war, our legacy bold.
You can't handle the truth!
KLW World News coming live to you with an update on what is going on between North Korea and South Korea. The North Koreans have blown up a couple bridges between North and South Korea. They have now put 1.4 million troops on alert. They have moved troops to the south, and they have set up to fire artillery on this nice little island right here. Now, the interesting part about this is all of these vessels that you see here, they are all South Korean. Everybody has turned their stuff off, and oh, by the way, the Chinese have pulled all of their ships out of this area. The Chinese normally have fishing vessels in this area, and they have now left. That's right. There were Chinese troops there, but not anymore. And the South Korean troops on this island are now on full-blown alert. So we're going to continue to monitor this situation for you. It is absolutely amazing that you have so many people in the world that have no fucking clue about the military or anything that is going on. See, and I hate Matt Wallace because he talks such shit. See, these people post videos, see this, see that. They never say where it is or when it is or any of that stuff. They just talk shit and put it up. Fucking idiots. Matt Wallace is a fucking idiot. The world is full of fucking idiots. People have no fucking clue what they're talking about. And they put this shit up day after day after day after day, not having a clue as to what they're talking about. And nobody does anything about it. Nobody does a thing about it. Twitter doesn't do anything about it. Facebook doesn't do anything about it. YouTube doesn't do anything about it. The people that are telling the truth, they want to shut them down. But the people who are spreading lies and propaganda and fear porn and all that shit, they get promoted and get millions of followers.
Percent of people tell the country is
frankly exhausted of Brett.
More than 70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying. 79% of them Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
But
people
you're the
have
lever of
become.
power.
But listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, frankly, exhausted of Brett.
More than
people
70% of people
exhausted.
tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much for your patience today. Just a few things at the top. We'll get right to your questions. First, as you are aware, Israel confirmed today the death of the leader of the Hamas terrorist group, Yahya Sinwar. We'd refer you to the Israelis to discuss the details, but this is clearly a significant development and a major counterterrorism achievement. As you saw from our readout earlier today, Secretary Austin spoke earlier today with Israeli Minister of Defense Gallant to discuss the reports on the killing of Sinwar and to get an update. I would highlight that when the call occurred, the IDF was still working to confirm Sinwar's death. During the call, Secretary Austin also reaffirmed U.S. support for Israel's right to defend itself and reiterated that the deployment of the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense Battery represents the United States' unwavering, enduring, and ironclad commitment to Israel's security. The Secretary also expressed strong support for the immediate release of all remaining hostages and a ceasefire in Gaza. We'll have much more to say from the Department on the death of Sinwar very soon, and we'll keep you updated. Separately, as we announced last evening, U.S. military forces, including U.S. Air Force B-2 bombers, conducted precision strikes against 5 hardened underground weapons storage locations in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen. U.S. forces targeted several of the Houthis' underground facilities, housing various weapons components of the types the Houthis have used to target civilian and military vessels throughout the region. U.S. Central Command is still conducting a post-strike assessment, so I don't have any details to provide on that front, other than to say that we struck exactly what we intended to hit. We'll provide updates as appropriate. As Secretary Austin highlighted in his statement last night, the employment of the B-2 bomber was a unique demonstration of the United States' ability to target facilities that our adversaries seek to keep out of reach, no matter how deeply buried underground, hardened, or fortified. And it demonstrates U.S. global strike capabilities to take action against these targets when necessary, anytime, anywhere. It also sends a clear message to the Houthis that there will continue to be consequences for their illegal and reckless attacks, which put innocent civilian lives and U.S. and partner forces' lives at risk. Shifting gears, Secretary Austin arrived yesterday in Brussels and today participated in a de-ISIS ministerial, the first session of the NATO Defense Ministerial, and a productive meeting of the NATO-Ukraine Council. In his opening remarks at the de-ISIS ministerial, Secretary Austin highlighted the work over the last decade of the global coalition to defeat ISIS. And I quote, "For 10 years, this coalition has tackled the scourge of ISIS. Our success stems from our resolve, our commitment to working together, and our willingness to adapt. These core elements will remain at the heart of the next phase of our mission," end quote. Tomorrow, Secretary Austin will participate in the second session of the NATO Defense Ministerial and engage with his NATO counterparts to discuss strengthening the collective security of the alliance and international support to Ukraine's defense. We'll continue to provide readouts and updates on the Secretary's engagements throughout his travels. And finally, the Department of Defense continues to be fully engaged with FEMA and the whole of government relief efforts related to Hurricanes Helene and Milton, and will continue to work with our federal, state, and local partners to ensure we're supporting and coordinating response efforts in support of our fellow Americans. As of earlier today, the National Guard had more than 4,200 guardsmen, nearly 600 high water vehicles, helicopters, and more than a dozen watercraft from 7 states mobilized for the response and recovery mission following Hurricane Milton. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has approximately 450 people supporting with temporary roof support, infrastructure assessment, debris control, flood response, and more. Meanwhile, the department's support for the U.S. government's combined response for Hurricane Helene continues as well. The National Guard has roughly 2,500 guardsmen, 65 high water vehicles, and 11 helicopters from 13 states mobilized. Approximately 1,400 active duty soldiers are mobilized as well, working with federal, state, and local partners on coordinated response efforts. Active duty forces have been engaged in road clearing, commodity distribution, and access to isolated personnel. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has more than 500 personnel engaged in 33 missions across the region, supporting debris control, temporary power, infrastructure assessment, flood control, and safe waterways assessments. Secretary Austin continues to receive updates on these response efforts, and the department continues to be engaged with interagency partners in support of FEMA, the White House, state, and local governments. The Secretary and his team are also focused on DoD personnel and their families who may be impacted by the hurricanes. With that, I'd be glad to take your questions. We'll start with Associated Press. Tara.
Thanks, General Ryder. Does Secretary Austin have plans to talk with Minister Gallant again later today, now that the death has been confirmed? And does the building assess that this death creates a greater opportunity for a ceasefire? Will you see Secretary Austin press that further with his counterpart?
So I don't have a call to announce now. As I'm sure you can imagine, I'm sure Secretary Austin will speak with Minister Gallant at the earliest opportunity. And again, we'll read that out when it happens. In terms of the opportunities that this presents, I would highlight the President's statement where he highlighted the fact that there is now an opportunity for a day after in Gaza without Hamas in power. And so it does present an opportunity here for a ceasefire. It presents an opportunity for the release of all the remaining hostages. And, of course, we'll continue to work toward that end.
Okay, and then secondly, on the B-2 use last night, is there another aircraft that could have carried the munitions that the B-2 delivered? And if so, why use the B-2 instead of something that was closer to the region?
Yeah, so a couple of things on that. First of all, in the U.S. military, we have, we have a wide range of aviation capability that can carry a wide assortment of munitions. The B-2 in particular, though, has a large payload. The ability, as I highlighted in the topper, we can strike anywhere, anytime. And in this particular strike, using its unique capability and ability to carry a large payload to deliver munitions that could penetrate and strike these deep underground facilities that were storing components that the Houthis have been using. Again, it also sends a very clear message that we can strike targets of this nature anytime, anywhere from around the world. Thank you. Jennifer.
General Ryder, when was the last time the U.S. had a read on where Sinwar was, and do you still have troops helping with intel sharing on the ground in Israel?
Yeah, so I, as I'm sure you can appreciate, I'm not going to be able to discuss specific intelligence. As you highlight and as the President's statement highlighted, we have had special operations forces and intelligence personnel supporting Israel's hostage recovery efforts, advising on their hostage recovery efforts since shortly after October 7. And so in that regard, by providing them this information, the Israelis have been able to go after and look for hostages, as well as find those who have been holding them hostage, to include Sinwar.
And in terms of the B-2 strike, had you struck these targets before with other aircraft and munitions and had to go back and use the B-2, or is this a repeat strike?
To my knowledge, this was not a repeat strike. Again, this was to go after very specific capabilities that the Houthis were storing deep underground.
Was it a response to the 23 missiles that were fired on September 27th at the U.S. destroyers?
This was a response to the continued illegal and reckless action that we see by the Houthis. As you know, this is not the first time that we've struck, but certainly these were unique targets in the sense that they were deep underground targets. Oren?
One question on Israel, one on the B-2s. Did the Special Operations Cell provide any information or intelligence that was used as part of the operations around the killing of Yahya Sinwar?
So my understanding, Oren, is that the short answer is no. This was an Israeli operation. U.S. forces were not directly involved. Again, as we've highlighted, we've had a small number of special operations forces that have been advising the Israelis on hostage recovery efforts. And again, as the president's statement highlighted, that included working side by side with their Israeli counterparts to help locate and track Sinwar and other Hamas leaders hiding in Gaza who've been holding people, to include Americans, hostage since October 7 last year.
Can you say whether information or intelligence generated by the Special Operations Cell there went into previous killings of Hamas leaders like Mohammed Deif or Issa or others?
Again, I'm not going to speak about intelligence other than to say, just highlight what I just told you in terms of sharing intelligence and information in support of hostage recovery efforts and tracking those who have been holding individuals, to include Americans, hostage. And
then just a very quick question on the B-2s. When the Secretary put out a statement last night saying adversaries seeking to essentially place things deep underground in hardened bunkers, you haven't used the word Iran, but that seems a very clear message to Iran and its underground nuclear facilities.
Well, as I highlighted in my topper, it was certainly a message to the Houthis and anyone else, potential adversaries that hide things deep underground. It's a message to them as well. Tony.
One of the unique capabilities is that the B-2 can carry the massive ordnance penetrator, the 30,000-pound bomb that can go deep, deep, deep. Was that used in the first time here?
Yeah, Tony, so for operation security reasons, I'm just not going to be able to get into the type of ordnance that was employed in this mission. Again, the B-2 is a very versatile aircraft that can carry a wide range of munitions tailored for the particular operation that it's been tasked to do. And I'll just leave it there.
Okay, and THAAD, has the THAAD battery arrived, and is it now fully integrated with Israel's air defense systems?
So you saw our statement earlier in the week that troops have begun to arrive in Israel and the components have begun to arrive in Israel. It's going to be fully operations capable in the near future. I'm not going to get into the specific dates for operation security. I will say that it has been integrated into the Israeli air defense as well as our broader U.S. Efforts, regionally to support the defense of Israel.
So you think Navy destroyers possibly, or swap data with the Navy destroyers in the Eastern Med for air defense and kind of provide an umbrella?
So the way it works is from a theater standpoint. The U.S. works closely with Israel and other partners when it comes to things like air defense to coordinate, to exchange information to ensure that we have a holistic picture and can respond to contingencies throughout the area of responsibility, to include supporting the defense of Israel. Thanks. Let me go to John, and then I'll go to Charlie. Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you very much, Gerald. This administration has been saying that Hamas have been largely destroyed, and that's why Israel can't agree to a ceasefire. And today the Vice President said that Hamas have been decimated. Would you say to your Israeli counterparts, to the Israeli government, that if they made the decision to agree to a ceasefire today, especially after today's development, that wouldn't be a silly decision militarily, that they can trust that decision?
Well, as I'm sure you can appreciate, I'm not going to provide military-to-military advice from the podium to our Israeli counterparts. To your point, Hamas has been incredibly degraded, as evidenced by the killing of their leader, a significant number of their forces, and certainly do not resemble anything close to what they were on October 7, or the ability to conduct the kinds of operations we saw them. So I'll leave it to the Israelis to talk about their plans as it relates to Hamas. But as I highlighted earlier, and as the president highlighted in his statement, the killing of and the death of Sinwar certainly does present an opportunity, and I'll just leave it there.
Can I just one quick follow-up? So as far as I understand, this administration thinks that it makes sense right now to agree to a ceasefire. That's pretty clear, I guess.
Again, I'm Department of Defense, so broadly speaking, we absolutely support a ceasefire so that we can ensure that humanitarian assistance is getting into Gaza, that the Palestinian people can see a restoration of security and stability. But we also recognize the threat that Hamas has posed to Israel. And so we'll continue to consult with Israel and our partners in the region, but obviously want to see a ceasefire as soon as possible. And most importantly, the release of the hostages that continue to be held by Hamas. Charlie.
Thanks, General. Sinwar had American blood on his hands. And the vice president was willing to go a little bit further than you will from there, saying American special operations and intelligence personnel have worked closely with their Israeli counterparts to locate and track Sinwar. He's dead now, so we're not at risk of foiling any sort of intelligence around that. But are you not willing to give us an idea?
I'm not sure what I said that was contrary to that. What I was asked was there direct U.S. involvement in this particular Israeli operation, and I said no.
Did U.S. Special Forces or intelligence know where Sinwar was when this happened?
Again, I'm not going to get into intelligence. What I'm telling you is this was an Israeli operation and that we've been sharing information and intelligence in support of hostage recovery efforts and the tracking of these leaders who have been holding hostages, to include Americans. And so, in so much as it's helped to inform Israeli operations in general, writ large, certainly it has played a role. But in terms of this particular, what happened today or last night, again,
it's an important question.
And I just answered it. So let me go on to Joseph.
Thanks. I know you said the Secretary spoke to his Israeli counterpart before the Sinwar's death was confirmed. But did the Secretary, because as far as we know, you guys haven't received a day after plan from the Israelis in Gaza yet, is that correct?
Again, from a Department of Defense standpoint, we're continuing to talk with our Israeli counterparts in terms of what that would look like. Certainly, it will be a complex undertaking, but, more to follow on that.
And just to follow up on that, does the department think there's anything more to be done militarily in Gaza from the Israeli point of view?
So that's really a question for the Israelis. Again, I think we've been pretty clear that we want to see a ceasefire. We want to see a restoration of a significant flow of humanitarian assistance into Gaza. We want to ensure, though, that Hamas is not in a position to conduct the kinds of attacks that it did on October 7th. Certainly they are, down for the count in terms of their leader. But again, I'll defer to the Israelis to talk about their comfort level on that.
Quick last one. What's the Secretary going to do in the Vatican? I think he's got that on the last part of his trip.
He's got an official visit, the Vatican City. Again, we'll have a readout of that when he visits there. So you go to Wafa. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, General. Over the years, Hamas has shown resilience with replacing leaders when they were killed. So what's different now? Why the assessment within this administration that the killing of Sinwar would remove a significant obstacle in Gaza?
Well, as you highlight, and this is always a challenge with terrorist organizations, is that you remove the head and another is quickly replaces. So I'm certain that's something that the Israelis will continue to keep an eye on, as will we. But I also don't think you can discount the significance, again, from a counterterrorism standpoint, the role that Sinwar has played in leading this organization, also as the architect, so to speak, of the October 7 Hamas attack against Israel. It's significant that he's been taken off the battlefield. Let me go to the phone here real quick. Dan Lamoth, Washington Post.
General. Thanks for your time. I wanted to get your assessment. Does the Pentagon have an assessment, and maybe would be a better way to put it, of whether, with the death of Sinwar, whether this is a particularly dangerous time for U.S. troops in the region, whether you anticipate any kind of retaliation by any of the militias or Iran or anything as a result?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I can't predict the future, and I'm not going to speculate. I mean, we already know that the Middle East is in a very tense situation right now, and have taken.
had a very good relationship with President Xi, had a very good relationship with Putin, and a very good relationship with Kim Jong-un, who has a nuclear force that you won't even believe. And by the way, today it was announced for those that he just...
Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman. You're so LinkedIn as a connected man among the big tech nerds. You recommended Jeffrey Epstein to your friends as a smart fun perv. Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman. You traveled to Epstein Island where all the pretty girls, they were young. That's it. Now no one knows just what you did cause Epstein, he got hung. Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman. Your TDS is so severe you want 45 to be tarred. So much you funded campaign lies and a Trumpy deck of cards.
Massive.
Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman. You paid for all that lawfare so Gene Carroll could get big bucks.
Yes.
And you want a new town in California cause Frisco really sucks. Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman. With all that girth you may not gin up too much sensual ardor. And you're also sad that he couldn't make old Trump an actual martyr.
Rats.
Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman. You're on the board of Microsoft, but you really shouldn't be. You think you make a lot of sense, but instead you're out of your tree. Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Reid Hoffman.
Significant steps to ensure that our forces that are in the region, as well as our citizens, are protected. And so, as we always do, we'll continue to keep our head on a swivel, protect our forces, support the defense of Israel, and be ready to respond to any variety of contingencies should they arise. Let me go to Phil Stewart, Reuters.
Yeah, hi. So, sorry to go over this again, but I'm a little confused. I thought Sinwar was a particularly vexing target for intelligence, for the intelligence community. And you know, the comments today suggest that you did have a fix on him at some point, and that you may have contributed to the intelligence picture that that led to this operation without U.S. support. So could you just explain? Did U.S. intelligence then? Are you suggesting that U.S. intelligence had a fix on Sinwar?
What I'm suggesting, Phil, is that just to be crystal clear, this was an Israeli operation. There was no U.S. forces directly involved. The United States has helped contribute information and intelligence as it relates to hostage recovery and the tracking and locating of Hamas leaders who have been responsible for holding hostages. And so certainly that contributes in general to the picture. But again, this was an Israeli operation, and I would refer you to them to talk about the details of how the operation went down. Thank you. Let me go to Howard Altman.
Hey, thanks. Really appreciate it. A couple questions about Ukraine. One, what is the Pentagon's assessment of how many North Korean troops are in Russia ready to fight in Ukraine? And secondly, what is the Pentagon's assessment of how the Kursk incursion is going? There's some reports that Ukraine has lost about half the territory invaded. I was hoping you can give me the Pentagon's assessment of both of those things. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Howard. Definitely seen the reporting and the comments about potential DPRK forces, going to Russia or going to Ukraine. I can tell you right now, we're looking into those. We can't confirm or corroborate those reports. If true, that would demonstrate an increase in the cooperation between Russia and North Korea, and I think that would also demonstrate the situation that Russia finds itself in, the dire situation that it finds itself in terms of its forces on the battlefield. As you've heard us recently say, the casualties that Russia is experiencing on the front lines are extremely significant, upwards of 600,000 killed or wounded. And so it just demonstrates the desperation in terms of identifying additional forces for their military. But it's something that we'll continue to keep a close eye on. And then, I'm sorry, your second question?
The second question was about Kursk. There's some reporting that Ukraine has lost about half of the territory it gained in that Kursk incursion. I'm just wondering if the Pentagon has an assessment of how that's going.
Based on the information I have, that is not accurate. There has been some incremental, a small amount of territory retaken by the Russians in Kursk, but at this stage, nothing that we would consider significant. Okay, come back to the room here. John.
Thank you, General. In President's statement, he used a very active language in terms of the involvement of the U.S. intelligence and providing this information to the Israeli side. Is this cooperation was from September 7th up until now? And was it a two-way intelligence sharing, or you only giving them information that you have?
Yeah, so as we've said before, and we've talked about this publicly, we sent a small number of special operations forces to Israel to work out of the embassy to support and to advise the Israelis on hostage recovery efforts. And to put this into context, remember that there are American citizens that are being held hostages, so it's appropriate that American forces would be assisting and advising the Israelis on those recovery efforts.
The President actually is comparing this with, mentioning Osama bin Laden's death as well. So it sounds like the U.S. sees this like the killing of the group that was responsible of that attack, which Israel used to show it as the 9/11 of Israel. So do you think that this is going to be like an opportunity to cease fire?
Well, again, I think the President's statement speaks for itself, and as I already highlighted in that statement, he highlights the fact that this is an opportunity for a day after in Gaza without a Hamas, and so I'll just leave it there. Constantine.
Thanks, Pat. Going back to the THAAD deployment, since, as you say, most of the unit appears to now be in Israel, are you able to offer any more specifics as to what the unit is or where they came from, what Army base they were deployed from?
Constantine, I don't have more to provide for you from the podium here other than to say the unit did deploy from the U.S., and it's an air defense capability that will be integrated into the broader air defense capabilities that we're providing in the support of Israel's defense.
Okay. And slightly related question, as we sort of look forward to Israel's future, you said, the flow of humanitarian aid is important for it to resume. Does the DoD see itself as playing a significant role in getting that humanitarian aid into Israel?
So right now, from a U.S. government standpoint, of course, USAID is the lead organization on U.S. efforts to get aid in there. Certainly, the department helps to advise and will support as necessary, to include on the diplomatic front. As you have seen in some of our readouts recently from Secretary Austin's conversations with Minister Gallant, that has been a topic of discussion and continues to be an important topic of discussion. So if we have any, I don't have anything to announce right now, but if that changes, we'll let you know. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I have several on Ukraine. First, President Zelensky said that the latest weapons package for Ukraine we saw yesterday included some long-range weapons. Was this ATACMS or something else? And could you also specify which air-to-ground munitions were included in this package?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I'm not going to be able to go into more detail beyond what was in the readout.
Secondly, does the Pentagon support the implementation of Zelensky's victory plan that he presented these days, specifically when it comes to lifting restrictions on long-range strikes inside Russia and continuation of Ukraine's military operations on Russian territory?
Well, I know that at the NATO defense ministerials and in his consultations, in his conversations and consultations with his Ukrainian counterpart, we continue to learn more about the president's victory plan. I can tell you what Secretary Austin does support is Ukraine's success in terms of defending their sovereign territory and the freedom of the Ukrainian people. And so we're going to continue to work closely with the Ukrainians, closely with our allies and partners to ensure that we understand Ukraine's needs and that we're supporting their capability requirements on the battlefield.
I have a short one. Zelensky also said that if they start implementing this victory plan now, it may be possible to end the war next year. Does the Pentagon agree?
right, folks, we're going to end this. We are going to our main KLW World News YouTube page that has 6 times as many subscribers as this one does. We've got movement. We've got things going on. We've got North Korea doing things. We have South Korea doing things. We have China doing things. And we also have the White House just announced that China is sending weapons to Russia. The White House has known that for a long fucking time. Why at this particular moment, just moments ago, has the U.S. acknowledged the fact that we know China has been sending weapons to Russia? Also troops, also North Korea, also Iran. Things are, well, let's just say bubbles are forming on the bottom of the pan. So we're out of here. We'll see you over there. Let me give you a link to that channel here real quick if you don't have it already. It be right there. Go there and subscribe. Yeah, C6KG22. Yeah. So right there it is. I will pin it to the top. That's the channel we're going to be live on. Go there. Also, if you're not a member of the KLW World News Network, you need to be, especially right now. Right now. Go to buymeacoffee.com/KLW News and get signed up as a silver. Fecal matter is airborne. I repeat, fecal matter is airborne.
That's all, folks.